The desperate transmission commander Zephyr of the Celestial Union watched his homeworld of Luminara burn beneath crimson skies. The Void Reapers had arrived 3 days ago, their bone-white ships descending like hungry vultures upon his peaceful civilization. His people, the Luminians, had never known war. Their crystalline bodies evolved for harmony, not conflict. "Sir," Lieutenant Prism reported, her translucent form flickering with distress, "the southern continents have gone dark. The Reapers are harvesting our people for their torture chambers." Zephyr's internal light dimmed with grief. The Void Reapers were notorious across the galaxy, planet killers who fed on suffering, turning worlds into nightmare farms where they slowly consumed entire populations. No species had ever survived their complete attention. "How many of their vessels remain in orbit?" Zephyr asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Over 2,000, Commander. Our defense fleet of 30 ships lasted exactly 17 minutes. The command center shuddered as another orbital bombardment struck the planet's surface. Through the crystalline walls, Zephyr could see the elegant spires of their capital city crumbling under the assault. Screams echoed across their telepathic network as civilians fled through streets that glowed with their own blood. "Commander," Communications Officer Gleam called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Reaper Admiral Massacre." The main screen materialized, showing a nightmare-given form. Admiral Massacre stood 12 feet tall, his exoskeleton made from the bones of conquered worlds. His forearms ended in razor claws, and his face was a skull wrapped in rotting flesh. Behind him, dozens of his warriors gnawed on what appeared to be sentient organs. "Pretty little lights," Massacre spoke in a voice like grinding tombstones. "Your world sparkles so beautifully when it bleeds. We will keep you alive for months, broadcasting your screams to every corner of the galaxy. Your suffering will season our next conquest." Zephyr forced himself to respond. "We are a peaceful people. We offer no threat to your empire. Please, show mercy to our children." Massacre's laughter shattered crystal fixtures throughout the command center. "Mercy is for the weak. Tomorrow we begin the harvest. Your younglings will feed our breeding pits." The transmission ended, leaving silence broken only by the sound of distant explosions. Zephyr looked at his remaining crew, young officers, who had trained for exploration, not annihilation. They stared at him with desperate hope, waiting for orders he couldn't give. "Sir," Prism whispered, "what do we do?" Zephyr moved to the ancient emergency beacon, technology forbidden by galactic law for 5 centuries. The quantum transmitter could send messages instantly across the universe, but at terrible risk. It might attract more predators, or worse. "We send a message to everyone," he said, powering up the device. "Perhaps someone, somewhere, will have the courage to help." He began recording, his voice carrying the weight of his dying world. "This is Commander Zephyr of Luminara. Our world is under attack by the Void Reapers. We are defenseless, with no weapons or armies. If anyone receives this transmission, please help us. Our children are dying, and we have nowhere else to turn." The beacon fired, carrying their last hope into the void. "An unexpected answer, Captain." Marcus Steele of the UEF Vengeance was reviewing supply reports when the alien transmission reached Earth's deep space monitoring station. The 40-year-old veteran had seen humanity's first steps into the galaxy, but this was their first contact with alien life, and it was a cry for help. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Jade Phoenix from the communications console. "Priority 1 message from Earth Command. We've got first contact and it's not good news." The bridge of humanity's newest warship fell silent as the translated message played. Every word burned into Marcus's memory. Innocent people being tortured by monsters while the galaxy stood by and watched. His crew, hardened veterans from Earth's final wars, listened with growing anger. "How many ships do these Void Reapers have?" asked Commander Titan Cross, the ship's tactical officer. Intelligence estimates over 2,000 vessels, Phoenix replied. The Luminians had 30 ships. They lasted 17 minutes. Chief Engineer Nova Blackwood looked up from her technical displays. Sir, we're one ship against a fleet. Even with our advantages, those aren't good odds. Marcus studied the tactical data flowing across his screens. The Void Reapers fought like berserkers. No strategy, just overwhelming force and brutality. They had numbers, but they'd never faced an enemy that fought back intelligently. Petty. Officer Storm, Marcus called to his communications specialist. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're responding to the distress call. Sir, interrupted Major Blaze Hunter, commander of the ship's Marine complement. Command will want us to wait for reinforcements. This could be a trap. Marcus turned to face his bridge crew. These men and women had followed him through humanity's bloodiest conflicts. They understood the cost of war, but they also understood the cost of doing nothing. Major, somewhere out there, children are being tortured by monsters while their parents watch. The entire galaxy received that message, and everyone else decided it wasn't their problem. That's not who we are. Dr. Sage Winters, the ship's xenobiologist, had been analyzing the alien transmission data. Captain, the Luminians appear to be a completely peaceful species. They have no concept of warfare, no defensive instincts. They're like sheep surrounded by wolves. Then we'll show them how humans protect the innocent, Marcus replied. Nova, how long to reach their system? 18 hours at maximum FTL, sir. But, Captain, we'll be jumping into the middle of an active war zone. All the better. Phoenix, prep a message for the Luminians. Let them know help is coming. As the Vengeance altered course toward the Luminara system, word of their mission spread through Earth's military networks. Admiral Kane Richards, the Gruff, leader of Earth's space forces, watched the ship's departure from his orbital command center. One ship, he muttered to his aide, Commander Frost. One ship against an entire fleet. Sir, should we recall them? Frost asked. Richards shook his head. Son, humanity spent centuries learning to fight. We've perfected the art of war while other species played at peace. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned what happens when you threaten something humans decide to protect. Meanwhile, aboard the Vengeance, Marcus stood in his ready room, staring at star charts of the Luminara system. His first officer, Commander Raven Blake, entered with coffee and concern. Marcus, you know this is probably a suicide mission. He accepted the coffee, savoring what might be his last cup. Raven, remember why we joined the military. It wasn't for glory or conquest. It was to stand between innocent people and the darkness. And if we don't make it back? Marcus smiled grimly. Then we'll make sure those monsters remember that they picked a fight with humanity. The wolves arrive. The Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Luminara system like a steel predator entering a feeding frenzy. Captain Marcus Steele stood on the bridge, watching thousands of red contacts fill his tactical display. The Void Reaper fleet sprawled across space like a cancer, their bone-white ships gleaming with malevolent purpose. Jesus Christ, whispered Navigator Orion Vex. There are so many of them. Commander Raven Blake studied the sensor readings. I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. They've begun ground operations. Orbital bombardment. In platforms, reported Tactical Officer Titan Cross. They're softening up population centers before the harvest begins. Marcus felt his jaw clench. Through the viewports, he could see the beautiful blue-green world of Luminara, its surface marred by fires and explosions. Somewhere down there, innocent people were dying while monsters laughed. Sir, called Communications Specialist Storm, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. It's weak, heavily encrypted. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Zephyr's crystalline form. The alien leader looked exhausted, his internal light dim with despair. Behind him, Marcus could see other Luminians, huddled in what appeared to be an underground bunker. Unknown vessel. Zephyr said, his translated voice filled with hope and fear. "Are you responding to our distress call? Please, if you have come to help, we are running out of time." Marcus stepped forward. "Commander Zephyr, I am Captain Marcus Steele of the United Earth Federation ship Vengeance. We received your message and have come to assist." The alien's form brightened considerably. "Captain Steele, I must warn you. The Void Reapers have over 2,000 ships. How many vessels are in your fleet?" "One," Marcus replied simply. The light in Zephyr's form flickered with confusion. "I do not understand. One ship? Captain, I fear you do not comprehend the magnitude of—" "Commander," Marcus interrupted gently, "where I come from, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We're here to stop the Reapers, regardless of the odds." Chief Engineer Nova Blackwood looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm reading significant damage to the planet's infrastructure. They're systematically destroying anything that could be used for resistance." "Because they've never faced real resistance," Marcus observed. "Storm, open a channel to the Reaper fleet. Let's introduce ourselves." The transmission connected, showing Admiral Massacre on his command bridge. The monster was in the process of consuming what appeared to be a sentient being, his claws dripping with alien blood. "What pathetic species dares interrupt my feast?" Massacre demanded. "I am Captain Marcus Steele, representing humanity. You have attacked innocent people and committed acts of genocide. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Massacre's hideous laughter echoed through the bridge. "Humanity? I have never heard of such a species. You must be desperate fools to threaten the mighty Void Reapers with a single vessel." "Admiral," Marcus said, his voice cold as deep space, "you're about to learn why humanity doesn't need large fleets to win wars." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations, tactical, begin target analysis. I want firing solutions on their command ships, prison vessels, and orbital platforms." "Sir," Major Blaze Hunter called from the Marine Bay, "boarding teams are ready. We've got specialized equipment for shipboard combat." Dr. Sage Winters had been analyzing Reaper ship configurations. "Captain, their vessels are heavily armored but poorly coordinated. They rely on overwhelming numbers rather than tactical sophistication." "Then we'll use their weakness against them," Marcus decided. "Nova, engage stealth systems. Cross, target their flagship's weapon arrays. Let's show them what happens when predators meet apex predators." The Vengeance vanished from enemy sensors, becoming a ghost in the darkness. Unlike the Reaper's crude technology, human stealth systems had been perfected through centuries of warfare. The ship moved through space, like a phantom, positioning itself for the first strike. "All weapons charged and ready," Cross reported. Marcus looked at Commander Zephyr's image on the secondary screen. The alien was watching with a mixture of hope and terror, unable to comprehend how one ship could challenge an entire fleet. "Zephyr, you're about to see how humans wage war." Humanity unleashed. The first salvo from the Vengeance turned the Void Reaper flagship into a fireworks display. Plasma torpedoes and railgun rounds struck Admiral Massacre's command ship simultaneously, overloading its shields and crippling its primary weapon systems. The massive vessel, designed to inspire terror across the galaxy, suddenly found itself blind and defenseless. Direct hits across all target points. Tactical Officer Titan Cross reported with satisfaction. "Their main batteries are offline, engines are damaged, but the ship is still intact." Captain Marcus Steele watched the chaos through his tactical display. The Reaper fleet was reacting like a disturbed hive, ships moving in random directions without coordination or purpose. They had overwhelming numbers, but no discipline, exactly what he'd hoped for. "Second wave," Marcus ordered. "Target their prison ships. Free the captives." The Vengeance moved through space like a phantom, its stealth systems keeping it invisible to Reaper sensors. Human precision weapons carved through the lightly armored prison vessels, creating breaches for boarding parties while avoiding areas where captives were held. Major Blaze Hunter led the first boarding team through the hull. Breach of a Reaper prison ship. The veteran Marine had fought in humanity's worst conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for the horrors he found inside. Corridors lined with cages held dozens of species. Some he recognized from the galactic databases, others completely unknown. "Sweet Mother of God," whispered Sergeant Ironwolf, his voice tight with rage. "Look what these animals have done." The Reaper guards tried to resist the human boarding parties, but they had never faced soldiers who fought with such coordinated precision. The aliens were larger and stronger than humans, but they fought like wild beasts, charging straight ahead. Without tactics or teamwork, human soldiers used their training, their equipment, and their righteous fury to cut through the enemy like a scalpel through diseased tissue. "All prisoners secured," Hunter reported to the bridge. "These people need immediate medical attention, but they're alive." Dr. Sage Winters had converted the ship's cargo bay into an emergency medical center. As rescued aliens were brought aboard, she worked frantically to understand their biology and treat their injuries. Each species required different care, but they all shared one thing: the hollow look of beings who had seen too much suffering. Commander Zephyr's image appeared on the medical bay screen. The Luminian leader was coordinating with other survivors, providing intelligence about Reaper positions and tactics. "Dr. Winters," Zephyr said, "how can we ever repay you for this kindness? You risk everything for people you have never met." "Commander," Winters replied while treating a wounded alien child, "where we come from, protecting the innocent isn't about payment. It's about being human." Meanwhile, on the bridge, the battle continued to evolve in humanity's favor. The Vengeance used hit-and-run tactics, striking from unexpected angles before vanishing back into the darkness. Each attack was precisely calculated to cause maximum damage while minimizing risk to human lives. "Captain," Communications Specialist Storm announced, "we're intercepting Reaper communications. They're calling for reinforcements from other fleets." "How long before they arrive?" Marcus asked. "Approximately 6 hours, sir." Commander Raven. Blake studied the tactical situation. "Marcus, we've crippled about 10% of their fleet, but we can't maintain this pace. Eventually they'll adapt to our tactics." Marcus nodded grimly. "Then we accelerate the timeline. Target their fuel depots and ammunition ships. Let's turn their own weapons against them." The next series of attacks created a cascade of explosions throughout the Reaper fleet. Secondary explosions rippled from ship to ship as fuel lines ruptured and ammunition stores detonated. The disciplined formation that had terrorized the galaxy began to collapse into chaos. Admiral Massacre, wounded and enraged, broadcast on all frequencies. "What are you? What kind of monsters fight from the shadows like cowards?" Marcus opened a response channel, his voice calm and deadly. "We're not monsters, Admiral. We're just humans who refuse to let evil win. And we're not hiding in shadows. We're teaching you what it feels like to be hunted." Chief Engineer Nova Blackwood looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup from the planet's surface. The Reapers are preparing to execute all remaining prisoners." "Time to bombardment?" Marcus demanded. 18 minutes, sir." Marcus turned to his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had carried humanity through its darkest hours. "All hands, prepare for emergency rescue operations. We're going to save every single life we can." The Vengeance dove toward the planet's surface, racing against time and overwhelming odds. But they were no longer just fighting for strangers. They were fighting for the soul of the galaxy itself. The galaxy remembers. 6 months after the Battle of Luminara, Ambassador Quill of the Feathered Clans stood before the newly formed galactic Defense Council, his iridescent plumage ruffled with excitement. Representatives from 200 species filled the Great Assembly Hall, all gathered to discuss the most significant event in galactic history. "Fellow beings," Quill announced, "the humans have done the impossible. The Void Reapers, terror of the galaxy for 3 millennia, have been completely eliminated. Not defeated, eliminated. Their entire military structure has been dismantled by human forces." The hall erupted in a mixture of cheers and concerned murmurs. Some species celebrated the end of the Reaper threat, while others worried about humanity's growing influence. Captain Marcus Steele sat in the human delegation section, still uncomfortable with the political aspects of his new role. 6 months ago, he'd been a ship captain. Now he was somehow humanity's unofficial ambassador to dozens of alien civilizations. "The question before us," continued Ambassador Stoneheart of the Silicon Collective, "is whether humanity represents salvation or a new form of domination. They possess military capabilities that dwarf our combined fleets." Dr. Sage Winters, now serving as humanity's chief xenobiologist, stood to address the council. "Honored delegates, humanity didn't seek this role. We responded to a distress call because it was the right thing to do. Every action we've taken since has been at the request of species seeking protection." Commander Zephyr of the Luminian Republic rose from his crystal seat. His people had not only survived, but thrived under human protection, rebuilding their world stronger than before. "I speak for 47 species when I say that humanity has proven itself to be protectors, not conquerors," Zephyr declared. "They taught us to defend ourselves while respecting our peaceful nature. They asked for nothing in return." The debate had been raging for weeks. Humanity now commanded a fleet of over 300 ships built in massive orbital shipyards around Earth. Each vessel was crewed by mixed human-alien teams, representing a new model of galactic cooperation. Admiral Kane Richards, now commanding the United Galactic Defense Force, reviewed reports from across known space. Pirate raids had dropped by 90%. Slave trading routes had been completely disrupted. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxies, weak and defenseless, had protectors who couldn't be bought, intimidated, or reasoned with. "Sir," reported his aide, Commander Frost, "we've received 17 new requests for protection this week. The Harmony Seekers are asking for help with territorial disputes, and the Deep Swimmers want assistance with underwater mining pirates." Richards smiled. "Humanity's always been good at making friends through superior firepower. How's recruitment going?" "Every human military academy has a waiting list 5 years long, but more importantly, we're getting volunteers from 43 different species. Aliens who want to learn human military tactics." The most surprising development had been the transformation of former Reaper territories. Instead of claiming the conquered worlds, humanity had helped liberate populations establish their own governments. Worlds that had been torture chambers became thriving colonies, protected by human patrol fleets. Major Blaze Hunter, now General of Marine Operations, stood in the briefing room of the newest human starbase. His staff included officers from 16 different species, all trained in human military doctrine. "The Skull Crushers have been eliminated," he reported to the assembled commanders. "That's the last of the major raider fleets. Sector 7 is now completely secure." Lieutenant Colonel Raven Blake, Marcus's former first officer, commanded the integrated patrol fleet. "General, we're seeing something unprecedented. Former enemy species are requesting to join our forces. Even some ex-raiders want to fight alongside us." The transformation hadn't been without cost. Humanity had lost thousands of personnel in the campaigns to secure the galaxy. But for every human life lost, 100 alien children lived free from the threat of slavery or worse. Back on Earth, children learned about the Luminaran crisis in their history classes. It had become the defining moment when humanity discovered its role in the galaxy. not as conquerors or merchants, but as guardians of the innocent. Chief Engineer Nova Blackwood, now directing humanity's massive shipbuilding program, stood in the orbital yards around Earth, watching the construction of the next generation of defense vessels. Each ship incorporated technology shared by grateful alien allies, making them more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. How?